Embrace the Darkness, the 31st main range Big Finish Doctor Who release, first released in 4 parts across CD and download on the 29th of April 2002 and written by Nicholas Briggs. The story sees the 8th Doctor, voiced once again by Paul McGann, and his companion, Charlie Pollard, voiced by India Fisher, head to the Cimmeria system, specifically Cimmeria 4, because the Doctor knows that Cimmeria 4 used to be the home of a magnificent kind of rainbow star, but that eventually over time it did kind of burn out, and the planets seem to have been shunted into perpetual darkness, and they aim to find out why. Why has Cimmeria 4 been cloaked in darkness for all these years? However, when they get there, they find people on the planet they find a mining group led by a woman called Orlenza, who is the commander of the mining base, voiced by Nicola Boyce, as well as 2 workers, Mike Ferris, voiced by Lee Moon, and Halliard, voiced by Mark McDonnell. However, after being in perpetual darkness for a very long time, they soon discover something horrifying has happened to them. As members of the crew who have been down on the planets, mainly Orlenza and Mike Ferris, now seemingly have no eyes, and it's up to them to try and find out what has happened. There are also one obstacle they face along their way is a robot, or an artificial intelligence, known as Rossum, voiced by Ian Brooker, the Rescue Operational Security Module G723, who believe that because she's become somewhat of a paradox, Charlie is like a foreign contaminant and therefore needs to be dealt with. So, with the Doctor eventually discovering that Cimmerians down on the planet, once again, they, like the crewmates now, have no eyes. They have done for a very long time. They've kind of evolved beyond the need for eyes, and they're like almost childlike of questioning. It's up to the Doctor to find a way to stop everything that's happening before they all end up with no eyes. Now, in terms of actual creatures having no eyes, while it might sound a bit weird, it is actually a thing in nature. I mean, one thing that I learned from the Arts Channel Drawfee was that there is actually a breed of axolotls, or a type of axolotls, that kind of evolved in caves, and actually they have no eyeballs, or they have no eyes. Basically, it's so dark down there that they have no need for eyes, which is kind of a bit of a weird thing to think about, that a creature evolves beyond the need for eyes, and is both creepy, but at the same time also kind of cool. But the Cimmerians eventually explain to them that the reason why they kept the planet dark for so long was because they were afraid of an invading species known as Solarians, and they know that the Solarians, what the Mining Corps was attempting to do was to light up a series of artificial suns so that they could use Cimmeria for a mining operation. And while the Doctor allows this to happen at first, it soon becomes apparent this is a problem because the Solarians use solar sails on their machinery and on their ships in order to travel. And by lighting up the suns again, it means that they're going to get closer, and they believe that the Solarians are going to go wipe out the Cimmerians. But then, small spoiler alert, by the end of the story, it actually turns out that the Cimmerians and the Solarians are basically cut from the same cloth. That they were essentially similar species, but then the Solarians managed to get away from the Earth and actually use lights in their things, whereas the Cimmerians use darkness. So at the same time, I think that this is a story where there isn't a ton to talk about, but the stuff that is there to talk about is actually really interesting. Just having a story where the entire thing is set in darkness, but it's actually done right. I mean, an example of how to use darkness but seriously gone wrong, you'd probably want to look at the Fairly Odd Parents story Lights Out, which I have seen people classify several times as one of the worst episodes ever of the Fairly Odd Parents. But in terms of a story that uses very little light, apparently this is a story worth listening to. I mean, okay, it works much better as an audio media idea than as a visual media idea, but in terms of a story where, as I said, things are set in darkness, I think this one is pretty good. once again, I do think I do prefer other Big Finish stories more, but this one I actually think is worth listening to. Like, I put it off for a very long time, but upon listening to this, I think Embrace the Darkness gets a thumbs up from me. Let me know what your thoughts on Embrace the Darkness down in the comments. Anyway, the next Big Finish story that I'm hoping to listen to is The Time of the Daleks. What do you think of that? Well, I'll have to wait and see. Till then, see ya.